Welcome back to Hobby Marketing, where I'm hoping I can exchange some very valuable marketing advice for your likes, subscribes, and comments. So please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, please like, and if you would, leave me a comment about what you'd like to see on the channel, what questions you have about marketing or hobby marketing specifically. I have been teaching marketing for about the last 12 years. Really spending quite a bit of time on social media marketing, digital marketing in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. So please, for sure. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. Love to explore those. Love to create a video for you with our hobby marketing channel here. Today, so a question came up just in conversation about a buyer's journey. And what does it mean? What does the buyer's journey mean? And so I thought I'd take today to talk to you a little bit about the buyer's journey. So a lot of the buyer's journey kind of comes from a guy by the name of Philip Kotler. In my mind anyway, the way I frame things, the way I remember things is I kind of create these patterns, if you will, and I'm just trying to build on some patterns of understanding that I have. That comes from a guy by the name of Jeff Hawkins. He wrote a book called On Intelligence, where he says the way the human brain works is classify, sequence, pattern, prediction. And everything we're doing with our lives is basically we make a prediction about an outcome, and based upon previous patterns we've experienced, previous things we've learned, and we make predictions and we go ahead and go forward with those predictions. And then we kind of track and measure our outcomes. So that's kind of the way I think about things. So when I'm thinking about the buyer's journey, Philip Kotler, who's a marketing guru, and his complex purchase decision model helps me kind of frame those thoughts. And so I thought I'd start this conversation by looking at the buyer model, the complex purchase decision. And so the way Philip Kotler kind of introduces this is when we are dealing with a complex purchase decision, we typically go have a need recognition. So he calls it a problem recognition or a need recognition. We realize current state does not equal desired state. Now keep in mind, the complex purchase decision is quite a bit different than a spontaneous or a habitual purchase decision, something that you're routinely buying. So it could be like bread. What's your favorite kind of bread, your favorite kind of milk, your favorite kind of pop, those kinds of things. And so that's the things we're habitually buying. So we're not taking the time to go through this complex purchase decision process. This is something that's typically a little bit more involved. So it could be a little bit more financially risk, could be even a personal risk. And I think this is where a lot of channels have evolved around skincare, around looking good. And because there's a degree of personal risk when you're doing your makeup, when you're dressing, when you're doing your nails, that self-expression, will people accept me or reject me? It kind of goes back to that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you will, where Maslow was talking about sort of what is motivating you at different times. I'll do a quick Google search here, and we can have a quick look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Remember, in the problem recognition, we first recognize that current state does not equal desired state. We have some kind of a need recognition that's motivating us for change. And so with Maslow's hierarchy of needs here, we can kind of start to see what might be motivating us. And this is a really good one. So there might be some physical things that are motivating you. So your desire for food, clothing, shelter. There might be a safety need. Man, I know at some point in your life you felt hungry. I know also at some point in your life you felt scared. I know at some point in your life you felt loved, you felt belonging. And I know you also felt really rejected at one point, and you felt really, really down about that. And I know at one point you felt really, really great about yourself, and another point in your life you felt really, really bad about yourself, and your self-esteem was really low. I know there's times your self-esteem is super high. I know also when everything's going your way, you like to help people. And the people who you tend to help are really, it's depending upon how much in need are they? How strong is your desire? Or how, if I was to say, what is the predictability that you're going to help someone? I would look at how in need that person is in order to make that prediction. So if I think about this Maslow's hierarchy of needs in terms of what's motivating you, that self-esteem one is right there. It's a very big one. So this, again, kind of going back to those channels where people are very, very self-conscious. They're worried, is this makeup going to make me look funny? Or is this makeup going to make me break out? And so if you know one makeup, one moisturizer is working with your skin type, then you're probably going to be pretty loyal to that skin type. Or that moisturizer because of your skin type, and because you don't want to take a hit on your self-esteem by breaking out. And it might even affect your love and belonging. And if you're really, really allergic to it, it might even affect your safety. Maybe you're going to lose your eyesight because your eyes are super swollen. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But that's when we think about what's motivating you. These are some things that are motivating you. Again, current state does not equal desired state in terms of this complex purchase decision model. So we have this need recognition. Something's motivating us. I'm hungry. I'm scared. Maybe I'm going to look at, hey, you know what? I'm kind of in a bad neighborhood, a rough neighborhood. I recognize that as a problem as related to safety. Maybe what I'll do to fix that problem. What would you do if you were in a rough neighborhood and you were like, man, I really don't feel very secure here. I wonder what's the best way to increase my security. What would you do? Leave a comment. Tell me what you do. I'm in Canada, so typically if it's an unsafe neighborhood, yeah, of course you want to move, but that's not really always an option, right? So maybe we're going to look at getting an alarm system. Maybe we're going to do some research around, maybe we're going to buy a dog. Maybe we're going to, in Canada, strangely enough, so for a lot of my American viewers, you're probably thinking, hey, you know what? I'd probably get a gun. In Canada, home defense or self-defense is not a reason to own a firearm. It's very strange here. Or maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But anyway, when it comes to safety, it's things like an alarm system, things like a dog. And you do a bunch of research around that and try to figure out, okay, look, I'm not feeling very safe. Maybe an alarm system. Maybe you're going to look at a dog. And then you're going to evaluate your alternatives. And typically what happens during this evaluation of alternatives is you've kind of come up with something we call a consideration set. What's the most important things to you in making this purchase decision? It might be a financial investment. It might be to make sure that it looks good. It might be something to do with social acceptability, right? That love and belonging. It might be, so for example, using our security example, maybe my friends are really anti-gun. So, man, if I get a gun and I tell my friends about it, oh, wow, maybe that's, I'm going to lose some friends. Or maybe my friends are highly allergic to dogs. And if I get a dog, man, my friends might not be able to come over as much. And so we're going to evaluate those alternatives. You're going to come up with what is the key things in your consideration set. And then based upon those key things in your consideration set, you're going to make a purchase decision. And then afterwards, we always have kind of a post-purchase behavior. And in that post-purchase behavior, we decide for ourselves, are we happy? Are we unhappy? And this is where we talk about things like buyer's remorse. The main rule of thumb here is customers' expectations are directly related to customer satisfaction. In other words, if the customer was expecting some experience, and as long as we live up to that experience, it's great. They're typically fairly satisfied. So I like to use the Buckley's example. Buckley's promises you two things. Do you remember what they are? Tastes awful and works great. And if you've ever tried Buckley's, and if you haven't tried Buckley's, I highly encourage you to try it out. Just because it tastes awful and it works great. And so just to get that experience of that awful taste, I think it's really cool. No word of a lie. I actually, on the first time I had ever tried Buckley's, it tasted so awful. I actually checked the expiry date. I actually thought I'd poisoned myself. Nope. It actually did taste that awful intentionally. And I realized in that strange, bizarre moment when I had this awful taste in my mouth, I was weirdly satisfied because Buckley's only promised me two things. It's going to taste awful and it's going to work great. Well, just the taste of that, I was already 50% satisfied because for sure that tasted awful. So anyway, so that's our post-purchase behavior. So this is where we talk about buyer's remorse. Is the customer satisfied, dissatisfied? And this is where we can even do some things like demonstrating a social proof. So if somebody bought your product or somebody's tried out one of your products, you can talk about all the other people who've tried it out and are satisfied, and we're kind of demonstrating a social proof. Apple does this a lot when you have the really expensive iPhone, and then they talk about all the other people who bought that really expensive iPhone on the weekend, so that you don't feel that cognitive dissonance around, oh man, I shouldn't have spent that much money, or at least it eases your cognitive dissonance because you're probably still thinking I shouldn't have spent that much money, but now you're also thinking, well, 1,000 other guys did, or 1 million other people did too. This was probably the right decision. And so that's what that post-purchase behavior is about. And just acknowledging it's there can just kind of maybe motivate you to, or just that understanding that it's there can motivate you to maybe do some stuff after the purchase, and just a follow-up, a thank you, just anything really. And so when we start to think about this is the consumer's complex purchase decision model. These are some things that are motivating you again. And I want to move you now to kind of the customer's journey, if you will. Sometimes we call this the buyer's journey. I'm not really sure what's happening here with my photo thing. I think Apple, my Microsoft computer is blowing up on me. Hold on one second. Let's bring this back. And hopefully it works this time. Somehow I managed to click on something, see all photos, I guess, and lo and behold, we saw all the photos, more photos than I even wanted. So when we compare that customer's complex purchase decision to the customer's journey, we can think about, okay, well, when they first become aware of the problem, that need recognition stage, where are they becoming aware of that? When are they becoming aware of that? So if you're selling food or doing food reviews, when are people more likely to want to read a food review? Is there a time of day when they'd be more likely to want to read a food review? Maybe it's lunch, dinner. Those are the times when people start to get hungry, that physical need, right? So they start to get a little bit hungry. They start to become more aware of their problem. Man, I'm hungry. What am I going to do about this? And so now they're starting to look for information and ideas around what they're going to do, how they're going to satisfy that need. And so maybe they start to do an information search. I mean, yeah, they can go to that habitual, what have I done for the last 20 lunches, and continue to do that. But some people will be going, hey, you know what? I want to kind of mix it up. Maybe I'm going to look for what's new, what's great, what's happening around town. And so they might start doing an information search and looking for what are some great local restaurants or restaurants near me. And that's where you start to see those searches start to occur for restaurants near me. And this is where, if you're creating content, it's very, very important to create some really meaningful content around restaurants near me. And what I mean by that is Google My Business. So make sure that you've got your information all up to date inside of Google about where, if you have a physical location, especially a business, make sure you have your address in there. Make sure you've got, make sure Google knows where you are. And then that's a great place to also have reviews. Remember, this is a new customer. They're only aware that they're motivated by hunger. They're looking for somewhere to eat. And as they go through the information search, they're starting to read some reviews. Maybe they're starting to say, what type of food do I want? And what's near me? And then they can start to sort of build that consideration set. Well, you know what? Or maybe I'm vegan. So what are the vegan shops near me? Or what's some great vegan dishes? Or maybe it's the other extreme. Maybe you're like, man, I'm in a ribs mood. And you're looking around for some kind of like a steak place or a rib place. And you're going to start to evaluate your alternatives. What kind of a mood am I in? And then you're going to start to probably create that consideration set I talked about in terms of what's really, really important to you. And that's where things like reviews start to matter. Proximity to where I am starts to matter. And that's where you want to really kind of keep an eye on those things. And then hopefully they book at your restaurant. So on your website, if you've got some content there, the call to action is go to my website, book now in my restaurant. Or maybe you're just talking about, here's our lunch special. See you soon. And so hopefully they come down and make that purchase. And then actually, in terms of retaining that customer, that post-purchase behavior, maybe you're going to ask them to do a review on your restaurant, particularly if they were super happy with it. Maybe you're going to give them a link to drop in a review of your place in order to make sure that you've captured that happy experience. And now you have a new testimonial for the next person who's going through this process. And that's kind of the big picture of how it works. When we start to think about once they've gone through that process, once they've been there, they had a really good experience, what are they going to search next time? Are they going to start at the top? And are they going to start to search great restaurants near me and go through this whole process again? Probably not. They're probably just going to be searching by your brand name, by your restaurant's name, maybe just to check out what are the specials of the day. And so that's when we start to see the brand being searched. So we're all the way down here. And this is where, when we think about the Google cost per click, typically brand names are a little bit more expensive to buy. And they can be a great source of a lot of referrals, even for your company, if it's a competitor's company. And the reason why is because typically these people are just about to purchase. I mentioned before in another video, when thinking about the planning calendar, and we're thinking about Google cost per click, I mentioned this idea of Audi. And when you search Audi, Infinity comes up. And I always thought that was a really interesting example. And in fact, no word of a lie, this is how I bought my Infinity. I had owned an Audi. I was looking at bringing it in for some repairs. And I know it was probably about, no word of a lie, it's about $6,000 to $8,000 in repairs. So the car was worth about negative $6,000 to $8,000 to me. And when I searched Audi to find a repair shop near me, Infinity came up. And I was like, man, I've always loved those Infinities, and I think I'll take a drive down and check one out anyway. So I drove down, and this was using my mobile device. So this is really, really important to think about. Is your customer using mobile devices? Is your customer sitting at a desktop? Probably when you're looking at lunch, you're at the desktop at the office. When you're searching for cars, you're probably using a mobile device. It's really, really important to make sure your content is optimized for mobile as well as desktops. In this case, I was on my mobile device. I was driving around looking for a service place near me, and lo and behold, an Infinity dealership near me showed up. And so I went down, checked it out. I was originally looking for service work, but a perfect example where I went from service work to actually buying a car. And the estimated cost per click on Infinity is very, very low. Here, I'll give you another really cool tool. It's called Uber Suggest. Uber Suggest is a great tool. I don't know if you're aware of this, but my previous favorite tool was Keywords Everywhere. Went to a paid platform, and I haven't really decided if I'm going to put in the money to use that paid platform. So I'm just going to check out Uber Suggest here. Here, this is it's set. The default is the United States, which is fantastic. In this case, just for fun, I'm going to switch it over to English Canada. In this case, I'm going to look at, we said Infinity, or Audi, pardon me, Audi. So Audi gets approximately, let's see what this is telling us here. Hang on one second. I'm not going to sign in there. So search volume, about 110,000 searches per month. Again, this is in Canada, so that's quite a bit. Estimated cost per click, $1.36. Paid difficulty is pretty easy, it's telling me here. So in other words, if I pay and I want to buy the search word Audi like Infinity did, it would be pretty easy for me to rise up to the top. It costs nothing to appear on this page. Again, costs none of these guys anything to appear here. But when I click through, that click just costed Infinity about $1.36. And I want you to notice something here. Luxury should be lived in. Isn't that cool? So when you click on Infinity, they're not even talking about Infinity. That landing page associated with the Infinity ad that comes up when you're searching Audi focuses on luxury. Luxury should be lived in. For some, luxury is a status symbol. It's something you keep pristine, untouched, separate from real life. For us, luxury means so much more. It inspires us to embrace who we are, to appreciate the little things, to pursue our wildest dreams. From the vehicles we design to the roads we travel down, at the heart of what we do. Because luxury should be real. Luxury should be enjoyed. Luxury should be lived in. Nothing about Infinity. Everything about that Audi experience. Why were you buying an Audi? Well, an Audi is a luxury automobile. What's the focus? Luxury. Luxury, luxury, luxury. Isn't that awesome? So again, I think that's a really fantastic example. I'm glad that came up when we searched that. But so when we're here in the consideration stage, again, a vehicle is a fairly involved purchase decision. So not only is it kind of reflecting upon our self-esteem here? Come back. Not only is it reflecting our self-esteem, safety a little bit, but it's also a really big financial investment. And so getting that purchase right is super meaningful. So nonetheless, you're going to typically go through this complex purchase decision. And even if you said something like, oh, Ray, I bought my laptop. It took me 1 minute to make the decision. I'd probably say, well, how many laptops you bought before? And your answer is very likely going to be, if it was a 1 minute purchase decision for thousands of dollars, your answer is very likely to be, oh, it's just the next generation of the same thing I've always had. And that's where it's like, well, obviously you've got quite a bit of experience with it. So you don't have to go through this whole thing because you've already done it initially and you were super satisfied with your purchase experience. So you're going to be a very good client to them. And this is, and by the way, we can absolutely quantify that kind of loyalty. So when we think about retention of that client, once they make the purchase decision, them coming over and over and over and over again, to stick with the car example, for example, one of the numbers I heard was for Lexus. Lexus puts an estimated value on the customer lifetime value once they purchase their first Lexus of about $600,000. So if you buy one Lexus and Lexus costs you $60,000, $70,000, the value of you as a customer over your lifetime of purchases to Lexus, new car, service work, etc., is about $600,000. That's why you want to do an awesome job in terms of retention and keeping those clients on board. So those are kind of the main points I wanted to make in regards to the customer's journey. Just think about, what are people searching for when they first are experiencing some kind of a problem? So if you're in flooring, for example, are they searching your brand name? No. They're probably searching about fixing their flooring. So why don't you create some content around how to fix floors, how to get stains out, how to get scratches out of hardwood, how to replace a ceramic tile. Why buying more ceramic tiles matters when you're buying your ceramic tiles. If you're a photographer, maybe you do wedding photography, and this was an example we gave in a previous video where we were looking at Answer the Public. So one of the cool tools that we used was Answer the Public, and one of the cool things that came up when we searched wedding photographers was actually wedding photography contracts and what should be in a wedding photography contract. And so around the awareness stage, before they even know that they want to use you, before maybe they're not even considering replacing their floors, maybe they're not even they're considering hiring a photographer, but you're becoming that subject matter expert, that authority in that area by having that content available to them. so that maybe now they tried it out, they did some information search, they tried to get the stain out of the floor, they tried to get the scratch out of the floor, they tried to set up the wedding for themselves, the photography with a friend, maybe they were going to have a sibling do it, didn't work out, shucks, now I need my floor replaced. Now I need my wedding photography done, and I need it done professionally. Well, who's the first person they're going to think of? You, because you're the subject matter expert. And so they're going to probably now search you by brand name, or they're going to click on the link to your name and want to find out, hey, what would it cost to actually hire you? And so that's a fantastic model to think about. What is my target market actually searching? What are they searching up here? How do I demonstrate myself as a subject matter expert? What information am I giving them when they're developing this consideration set? What information am I providing them? This is where sometimes a SWOT analysis is a really good idea, and you're going to focus in on your strengths and be communicating your strengths to them rather than your weaknesses, to make sure that when they're making that purchase decision, they're making that purchase decision based upon your strengths. You want to make sure your strengths are being communicated well when they find you. So when they go to develop this consideration set, when they're evaluating their alternatives, that hopefully one of the categories they're considering is the category where you're really, really strong in. Because then you're more likely to be hired by them, or they're more likely to buy your product. And when and if you do have that opportunity to service that customer, to create that great, valuable relationship, thank them. And demonstrate that they made the right decision by hiring you, by buying your product, and hopefully you retain them over and over and over and over again. And that's kind of what I want to do with this video series, is I'm hoping that you're going to subscribe. I'm hoping you got value out of today's conversation. I'm hoping you're going to leave a comment below about maybe some things questions you have about this video, or other topic suggestions for me. I'm totally in. I'll do my best to try to get back to all of you guys as quickly as possible. But yeah, hopefully you guys are getting some value out of this. And again, as I said in the beginning of the video, the exchange I'm hoping to create is your time for this content. And if you liked it, if you found it interesting, if you can apply it to your business, throw a comment below, like, subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks again for your time and attention, and let's have a conversation again later. Have a great day.